Hey everyone, welcome to this tutorial where I'll show you guys how to recreate these interesting looking Neo Noir style volumetric lighting effects inside of Cinema 4D and Redshift. It's going to be a really short one, and hopefully you guys will be able to find this technique interesting and maybe even apply it in some of your projects as well. So here we are in Cinema 4D. I have a very basic, simple scene set up here with a model and a camera, and I have a very simple stone texture attached with the model. It's just a simple texture which is pumped into the diffuse and the bump map. So to start things off, I wanna maybe add an area light to the scene. Let's try that. So let's add a target so that our light is always facing our model. There you go. And let's position it in an interesting way. Let's just put it to the camera so it's always visible to the camera. The thing about scenes like this is you want to try and position the light in a way that it's motivated by the content of your render. So in this particular case, the model showcases a person fighting a beast. So I want to create a lighting setup that evokes that mood. Maybe something that's heroic, that symbolizes his bravery. So yeah, try to evoke that mood that you're trying to recreate with the artwork using your lighting. That will make the scene a lot more interesting. So that's exactly what I'm trying to do here. Maybe the exposure is a bit too high. One thing that you want to keep in mind when lighting scenes like this is if you have a monochromatic render, you want to try and have as many colors as you possibly can from this monochromatic spectrum from black to white. If you have a very flat scene, for example, say the light is directly facing your character, it's really dominated by the white color, right? It's really dominated on the right side of the spectrum, and it really lacks that left side. As a result, the scene doesn't have that depth. So you want to have a very dynamic range within the spectrum so that you can have a more interesting lighting. So try to have as many colors as you can from the spectrum, from absolute darkness to absolute brightness within your scene to create a more interesting depth and a dynamic range essentially. So yeah, let's bring it back to where it was. For now, I'm gonna keep one light source. Maybe we're gonna add one later on as we move forward. For now, let's keep it at this. Next thing that I'm gonna do is add an atmosphere to give this that depth that we're looking for, to create that Neo Noir effect that we're looking for. So we're gonna add a redshift environment, and instantly you're gonna see that your render just blows out, becomes absolutely white. It's because of the density of how much scattering that is happening within the scene. So you want to reduce this guy a bit. For now, I think I'm gonna go for about 0.05, maybe even lower. That is looking alright, I guess. Yeah. Maybe change the light color as well, since we're trying to create a dramatic effect. Maybe something along the lines of orange, something that looks like flame maybe. Yeah, that should work. Yeah, that is looking good. Maybe a bit more scattering. Yeah. So right now the volume atmosphere looks very flat. So we want to add some depth to it. And in order to do that, Redshift has this really neat material which is called the noise volume material. So you just create that material and really add it to your environment. And then so you're going to see that it gets a bit dark. The reason is because it has a default noise node attached to it, which is like manipulating with the lighting of the atmosphere. So you want to play around with these values, and that's exactly how you create this effect. For starters, maybe we want this to have a lot more noise into it, so we're going to add a lot more frequency, and then so you're going to see like some tiny details are popping out within the atmosphere. Yeah, that's looking good. Maybe add some distortion while we're at it. A little of complexity maybe. And distortion scale. Yeah, that's looking good. Maybe a little more frequency. Yeah. I think you can, I hope you can see the tiny details that we're getting here. It's really making it look as if the atmosphere has a lot of depth to it, now that it has a bit of a turbulence into it. So let's increase the scatter a bit more. Yeah, that's looking interesting already. Yeah, maybe a bit more. Maybe let's play around with the noise a little more. Maybe distortion a bit more. Amplitude. Amplitude, I think this basically changes the contrast of these noise values. So you might want to dial that around and see if that gives you a more interesting look. But I'm already liking the way it's looking. It's giving it a really dense, foggy look. Very dramatic, exactly how we want it. Yeah, that should be fine. Play around with these values. I think you're gonna end up with something a bit more interesting. But that's basically how I recreated all the other compositions. We may want to play with the lighting position a bit. Yeah, that is looking pretty neat. I think the way the lights sort of close, that makes it look a lot more interesting. There you go. Yeah, that's looking nice. One more thing that you want to play around with is this spread option in your area light. This basically dictates how much the light spreads. Might be a bit difficult to see since our light is so big. Let's make it a bit more small. Yeah, so as you can see, it's really creating this spotlight-ish look that basically comes about because you have very low spread within your area light. So the light travels in a very linear direction. It doesn't spread much, so you get this really spotlight-ish look. So that's what this value does essentially. But I want to make the light big again and play around with the spread value. Maybe somewhere around there. That really kind of makes the highlight a lot more poppier and creates a dramatic mood essentially. So yeah, that's looking really good. While we are at it, I think now would be a good time to bring another light source into the scene. So yeah, that's basically it. The effect. Play around with these noise values. You're gonna get really different looks depending upon what sort of values you use. Yeah, that's basically how you create those effects, that Neo Noir feel. So two important takeaways would be, first of all, try to position your light in an interesting way. Try to make it motivated by the contents of your scene. And secondly, the volume values, of course. This would vary with the scale of your scene as well. So you want to play around with these values and see what works for you. But yeah, that's essentially how you can go about and creating this effect. So once again, thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions regarding this effect, leave them down in the comments below, or if you guys want to know any other technique, let me know. So yeah, that's basically it, I guess. Let's keep it here today. Peace out, guys.